10. 10? Is it?
God, it is 10.
12, 2011, 2010. Yeah, 10 years. That is, blows your mind.
I know it's not the worst complaint, but from my perspective, it's got a lot harder to do observational comedy. Remember before? Do you remember when we didn't used to have a Tory government? Remember the time before? Who remembers nurses? Nurses.
Love the noughties.
Wow, NHS privatisation, that really takes me back.
Yeah, it's weird, 'cause like at the beginning of the noughties, we had this thing called the NHS. We just had this NHS, and you could go to it like if you needed an operation or like you were seriously ill, they'd sort you out for absolutely free. It was absolutely mental.
That was the problem with the NHS, I think, really, at its heart, was that it was available to everyone. Someone comes in and needs an operation, they get it. What?
They cleverly underfunded it to make it a lot worse, which would mean that people just kind of stopped using it, and that solved the problem that way.
The NHS seems to me to be just concentrating on making as many people as possible, curing them or treating them. And then I'm thinking, all right, so who's the beneficiary? Apart from the patients, who's the beneficiary? And the answer to that is no one.
It's not as if we need nurses anyway, is it?
Hey, do you remember the NHS report?
Of course. Yeah. I used to love those.
Well, the winter has hardly started, but England's accident and emergency services are already up against it.
It was like the highlight of my week, just that excitement almost every night, wasn't it?
The true extent of the pressure on the NHS in England will be revealed in figures published later this morning.
And you'd have to run home to watch it.
You had to catch it. Like, it wasn't the same on catch-up. You had to get there. You had to see for yourself. What's it going to be today? Dun, dun, dun.
One A&E consultant reported he'd run out of corridor space for patients.
The thing is, if you didn't watch it going out live, the next day you'd have to say to them, please, God, don't spoil it.
That'd be spoilers.
You know?
It'd be like, don't tell me how many people are without beds.
More than 280,000 people have been added to waiting lists.
People talk about a shortage of beds and stuff. Like, sometimes standing up's better for you. Good for circulation.
Fucking disgrace.
The weird thing about austerity was that it sort of had a kind of a sort of unforeseen effect. Some people calculate that there were possibly 130,000 needless deaths, and that was certainly a very awkward moment for myself and a lot of people who were in favour of austerity, because of course we were like, right.
Make no mistake, the Conservative Lib Dem government that practiced this very silly policy of austerity, they were not doing it because they were silly. They knew precisely what they were doing. The most lethal class war ever perpetrated against a developed country's working class.
Yeah, I mean, people affected by austerity, I mean, they weren't really normal people. They weren't people like me, you know, people in the entertainment industry. I think they were sort of like poor people, and I don't know any poor people. Why are you asking me that? I wanted to talk about the noughties and what fun they were.
I remember them cutting the taxes for the rich, and I just thought, no, again. I just thought, bloody hell.
Good news, obviously, for certain people. Not for everyone. It's not for everyone. Tax loopholes aren't for everyone. But they're for me and some of the people I know. I know some other countries put money into the economy and it sort of makes the economy grow. But that just sounds to me like witch doctor stuff. I think the best thing is just the people who've got the money to hang on to it so they've still got it. I mean, if you've got a bar of chocolate, if you share it out, everyone gets a piece of chocolate. And they go, that was quite nice. But if one person has the whole bar, they fucking love it.
It's a fucking disgrace.
Oh my God, I remember buying a 3-bedroom house, converting the bedrooms, the hallways, the living rooms, the toilet, the cupboard under the stairs, turning it into a 12-bedsit apartment complex. Deregulation. Oh my God, I remember.
The landlord told me that it was going to be really minimal, really chic. And it was actually. It was like a 1-bed, 1 bath, but the bed and the bath were the same thing. So I slept in the bath and I bathed in the bed.
We could increase the rent every year. And if they didn't like it, we'd just get someone else in. No one knew when to stop. We were working miracles.
And there was loads of rats. There was rats on the walls. There's only one wall, so there's just sort of like a rat wall.
I mean, there were some loony lefties who used to call us parasites, but people needed somewhere to live. Who was going to provide it? The government?
Yes, the housing crisis is proliferating, but it's a good job the Tories started building all those starter homes back in 2014.
Oh yeah, 200,000.
Got to remember they did that.
That's a good figure as well.
Big.
200,000.
Well, there haven't been as many starter homes as we would have liked.
How many
Andrew.
did you build?
I don't have the exact numbers for you.
Well, it's easy to remember. It's 0. You built none.
Yeah, that's actually significantly lower. I would rather have 200,000 than 0. Is that a weird thing to say? To be fair, they're called starter homes. They're not called finisher homes, are they?
I don't want the government's help. Yes, I went to state school. Yes, I used the NHS, but I don't anymore.
Some of the cuts that they made were actually really random. I mean, they got rid of 10,000 firefighters. And it's kind of like they were fighting fire with fire. Or like actually they were like fighting fire with firing firefighters. What?
It's a fucking disgrace. Fucking disgrace.
Do you remember when the government used to only pretend to like Muslims, and now it's just like you just know that they don't.
There's a few articles. So there's the Muslim women going around looking like letterboxes, which was last year. You referred to tribal warriors with watermelon smiles and flag-waving pickaninnies. Yeah. And then just to get another demographic in, tank-topped bum boys.
Remember when the hostile environment was just the end of Crystal Maze when you're trying to get all the gold things and that? And then the government was like, why don't we do a real life hostile environment? And then people would be driving past maybe them like go home vans, and they'd be like, mate, Blackburn's a long way from here. I need to get a train. I need to go to Houston and get a train, mate.
Next to people saying, oh, there should be free education. Well, there isn't.
So in 2010, if I remember right, I voted for the Lib Dems and Nick Clegg because I thought they were going to make university free. And yeah, at the end, they got in and they're like, ×3. They tripled, the cost of it instead of making it free. So I didn't go because I couldn't afford to.
They made tuition fees 3 times as expensive, but they didn't make degrees 3 times as long, which is kind of like when they took out some of the triangles in the Toblerone, but they kept it the same price. Well, I'm trying to sell it because apparently it's worth 3 times as much as when I got it, but nobody wants to buy it.
I actually still have the scar on my back from where the Lib Dems stabbed us.
I didn't know that the Lib Dems were like Tory light. Has that always been the case?
It was a pledge made with the best of intentions.
Is that Nick Clegg's
We
speech?
shouldn't have made a promise we weren't
slamming.
absolutely
Oh, Nick Clegg's apology. How did that go again? It's there. It's been a while.
I remember when everybody was vibing.
when there was no money around. Not least when the most likely way we'd end up in government.
It was like a school ground mantra, wasn't it? A school ground mantra.
Committed to put fees up.
People were just bobbing to it.
I know that
every
we
car
fought
that drove past, people were like honing.
those
I also realised that wasn't the point.
But I also realise that isn't the point. There's no easy way to say this. We made a pledge, we didn't stick to it, and for that I am sorry.
I loved that video. I mean, I've watched it so many times now, it's messed up the algorithm, so all I get is Nick Clegg content.
We were like, oh, Conservatives are really stuck up. I mean, David Cameron likes Blur.
Most people wouldn't have heard of us anyway, but in the circles that we have been heard of, we are famously a very political band. We're kind of a mix between sort of Billy Bragg and JFK. Whenever there's like a new announcement, where there's a new budget or wherever it may be, Rowan will sit down at the keys and bang out a few chords, I'd say, and I sit down with Prime Minister questions on a Wednesday afternoon, instantly poetry, I mean, the bedroom tax, that was gold.
Yeah, we had a banger about the bedroom tax.
Yeah, I mean, universal credit, that was another great one. When they signed all those ferry contracts over to companies that don't run ferries.
People weren't talking about the ferries enough.
No, and we're big ferry guys.
Yeah.
All those WASPy women as well, all those women abandoned by the rise in the state pension age.
It's quite hard to set these kind of titles to pop music, but we do try.
Fucking disgrace. You know what I like? Record on the environment.
There are some people, what I would call agitators, who say, oh, the government's have abrogated their environmental responsibility. They sold the Green Bank, legalised fracking, and they missed emissions targets by a wide margin.
But yeah, you could say they did all that bad stuff, but at the end of the day, they made their logo a little sort of green tree with a union flag in it. And
that is environmentally responsible, saying, hey, look, a tree. And that's, yeah, does that do a lot for the environment? It's a start. It's a start. It's saying, come on, guys, look at that tree.
It is a fucking disgrace. Fucking disgrace.
All right, fine, yeah, all right. So they messed up on a few little things like education and health, and they gutted our public services. Yeah, fair enough. But there's, bruv, just give me a second. Yeah, there's something.
What was it?
What about the economy? Should I say that? No. Oh.
Food bank usage, right? To be fair to them, it's absolutely shot up. Shot up. They've smashed it.
What?
Smashed it. Okay, right. In 2010, there were only 41,000 uses of food banks. Rubbish. Nothing. Ugh. Then, by 2019, 1.6 million uses of food banks.
Well, that's a bad thing.
Oh. Yeah, okay, that is...
You were just impressed by the numbers.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers are incredible. Just...
That Theresa May dancing thing, that was sick.
People say, oh, Theresa May wasn't very good dance. Actually, if she was in craft work, then doing that would be a fucking good dance.